You are not just the sum of your diagnostic markers. You're more than that.
Yep.
And you go to clinical practice today and they read out your thing. Oh, okay, not okay, let's fix it. Okay. That's it. And then here's a statin because you have high lipids, and here's a pill because you got a headache, and here's this. That's it. And you're so right. And if you dig into it, the whole idea of understanding evolutionary biology, how did we even come about as humans? How physiologically this whole thing developed? Once you start asking those questions, it'll start to give you understanding and answers that you should be seeking for, because that tells you that all these, I mean, humans have not been around for that long, but the role of the mitochondria has been around for 2.5 billion years.
Right on. Yeah. Yeah. It's like
Okay.
the beginning.
It is the beginning.
Welcome to MyMD Unscripted, where healthcare gets personal and the script gets tossed. I'm Dr. Clint Carter, ER doctor turned direct primary care freedom fighter, on a mission to challenge how our healthcare system treats patients in America. In every episode, my expert guests and I dive into real conversations about what's broken and how we can fix it by making healthcare about people, not just managing disease. It's time to rethink what healthcare should be and how we can make it better together. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, guys, and welcome back to the MyMD Unscripted podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Clint Carter, and I'm here with Dr. Sundeep Dugar. He has like 40 years of experience in the medication, pharma, research world, and not your average functional medicine guy that we have on this show. A lot of the times, I think we're in for a treat today. And he has, he's kind of gotten out of the big pharma game, looking more into mitochondria and where we're going with this stuff. So, overall, Dr. Sundeep, thanks for coming on with us, man. Give us a proper introduction, how we got here, and let's get this thing rolling.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Carter, for being the host for such a wonderful conversation. And Sandeep is good. So we'll just get down to our
That
first,
works for
my
me
first
too.
name, and so, as you said, I've been in this area of pharma drug development, drug discovery for a long time. And, I have a couple of drugs that I'm a co-inventor of that are on the market, and pretty much touched most disease areas you can think of, from neurodegeneration to metabolic to cardiovascular. About 17 years ago, I got introduced to the mitochondrial world, and it has become a passion for me and has led to some amazing scientific revelations for myself, starting from learning about the mitochondria, and also really has shown me the idea that perhaps my science, the science that I do, along with my colleagues, and by the way, I have to acknowledge that all this work is just not me. There's been a lot of collaborators along the way that have significantly contributed to what I'm going to speak to today. It's finally evolved to the area that, I have to do things that can start to help people in real life.
Yeah.
The real world doesn't care about a lot of the geeky stuff we do. So let's be more pragmatic. And that's what I started with my co-founders 2 years ago, Blue Oak Nutraceutical. And I'll tell you, learning continues, but I'm having a ball. It's really so much fun to see and talk with people like yourself and others to really get off the ivory tower or exclusivity of the scientific world and come to where it matters to people. And when science starts to interdigitate with the real world folks who are dealing with patients like yourselves all the time, building this bridge has been an amazing, amazing 2 years for us. And I look forward to our conversation today. Thank you.
I do too. I'm curious, maybe we can, when we start get it going, how you ended up deciding to switch your focus to mitochondria. I mean, like you said, you were exposed to a ton of things. You definitely spent some time in the cholesterol world, it looks like.
Yeah.
And so how'd you end up deciding to shift your focus to mitochondria? I mean, like why? And then
Yeah.
let's
I mean,
talk about. Mitochondria.
See, that's a podcast in itself, right? The reason is that I have to go into all the dredges that you go through as an entrepreneur when
Yeah.
investors come in and decide that suddenly they have the money and they know more than you do and
Yeah.
start telling you, hey, wait a minute, I have the money and I'm the smartest person at the table. And you say, okay, great, you have the money, you got smarts, why do you need me?
Yeah.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Fair
So
enough.
after I asked that question the second time, I said to myself, Sunday, we can keep asking that question or do something about it. And I said, all right, I'm going to do something about it. So I said, adios, and off I went,
Nice. Nice.
you know?
So
So
you are in the mitochondria research. You meet up with your colleagues, and y'all, you've been doing research for a while on this, right?
yeah, so it actually, just to add a bit more color to what I said, I got introduced to the mitochondria in 2009 through some work coming out at UC San Diego through some studies clinicians were doing at the VA at UC San Diego Medical School. And long story short, when I saw that data, etc., it just clicked in my head that
Yeah.
clearly there's something here that is not explicable through normal modalities that we use in science and drug discovery. There's something happening that is unexpected, so wide ranging from biomarker responses to clinical responses to readjustment of physiological issues. In my career, I've never seen a single intervention do all these things.
Nice.
Okay. So this is not simply a pathway process. There's something more systemic going on. So that's the word, systemic, and really taught me starting then on that we are so used to dividing our body into silos.
Yeah.
We forget that your heart is connected to your kidneys, connected to your liver. And you'll
Yep.
notice recently in the last few years, suddenly people are talking about, oh, there's a gut-brain connection and there's a
Yeah.
gut-heart connection. And I'm like, wow, why is that such an epiphany? It's been there all the time. We have chosen
Right.
to ignore it.
Yeah.
And the reductionist modality has not gotten us anywhere for 40 years.
Yeah.
And doing the same thing over again, how is it going to get us there? So this data set became my foundation to work with a lot of other smart people, very, very smart people who knew about the mitochondria. I had no idea about the mitochondria. I learned so
Right.
much from them. And it became a passion. And the more I learned, the deeper I went, the more exciting it became. And it led me to the fundamentals of genesis of life itself on planet Earth.
Love it, man. Well, that's way different than blocking a receptor somewhere or turning on a receptor somewhere and
Yeah.
doing a thing. This gets deep. And when I was even heck, man, even in my medical school time, it's getting to be further and further away now, but we'll call it 20 years to be nice. The mitochondria was the powerhouse of the cell, man. That's just where
Yeah.
energy came from.
And
It's just a little energy plant. Just,
I'll tell you
sit-
one thing. I'll tell you one thing. That word is used so often, but it is so much more.
it's so much more. And it wasn't even on my radar that it might do more.
I know, right?
Right? And
Right?
as you go through medical school, you go through residency, you pretty soon you get a long ways away from the powerhouse of the cell. You don't even think about it anymore. Like, yeah, you should probably like take some B vitamins or something and roll. And then, all of a sudden it starts coming up, mitochondrial disease, mitochondrial, health. And so I'm super excited to see kind of where we're going because I've got patients that are like, man, because I make a living as a direct primary care doctor, taking care of people who come to me saying, hey, my other doctor said that my labs look fine and I feel like crud, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there must be more to this than a basic chemistry and a CBC and a TSH and, maybe an A1C. And you're like, yep, there's a lot more going on. There's more than I understand for sure, but let's start opening those doors and let's start uncovering those rocks because we've got fatigue and brain fog and you're just not recovering well, not sleeping, no energy. So there's so much to health and wellness that I think we're going to be able to dig into today. I can't wait.
You're so right in all those fronts, and redefining health and how we approach health. We need to start thinking about healthcare, not disease care.
Right.
We need to simply think that, as you've said about your patients, you are not just the sum of your diagnostic markers. You're more than that.
Yep.
And you go to clinical practice today, and they read out your thing. Oh, okay, not okay, let's fix it. Okay. That's it. And then here's a statin because you have high lipids, and here's a pill because you got a headache, and here's this. That's it. And you're so right. And if you dig into it, the whole idea of understanding evolutionary biology, how did we even come about as humans? How physiologically this whole thing developed? Once you start asking those questions, it'll start to give you understanding and answers that you should be seeking for, because that tells you that all these, I mean, humans have not been around for that long, but the role of the mitochondria has been around for 2.5 billion years.
Right on. Yeah. Yeah. It's like
Okay.
the beginning.
It is the beginning. I'll tell you today, I just had lunch today with a person who's been around in Silicon Valley and researcher, and he knew Lynn Margulis personally. Lynn Margulis, she was the one that introduced the idea of endosymbiosis, which is the genesis of mitochondria in current modern eukaryotic cells.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
introduced that concept, by the way, for which she never got the Nobel Prize, which she should have.
Yeah.
All right. That's another story for another day. But I met someone who directly knew her. I
That's
feel
pretty
so
cool.
good because
Yeah.
imagine now suddenly I have a 1 degree of separation from one of the persons who actually restated the aspects of evolution. It really said that what we think about genetic evolution as the core is missing the whole point, because genetic evolution is so slow.
Yeah.
It can't lead to what we have today. Something faster, swifter happened. And Lynn Margulis's idea of endosymbiosis and bioenergetics and cellular energy study starts to explain how just within 2.5 billion years, we have the complexity of life on planet Earth. And you know this, and perhaps this is for your audience, that every living species on planet Earth, everyone, the one thing we share in common is the mitochondria.
And so get into some of that terminology because, the listeners aren't going to have any idea what you just said up to that point.
Okay,
Right.
sorry about
And,
that. Yeah.
and I know where you're going with this, but you're a better storyteller than I am already. So I like, so explain that out a little bit.
So the idea goes that how did mitochondria, so it's kind of a present understanding and going back to explain, okay, how did it happen? So the fact exists today, as you mentioned, or, we all talk about mitochondria as the powerhouse of the cell. Okay. Well, it's a powerhouse. What I call it is the sentinel. Okay. It is the one that keeps your cellular function at balance. It's its healthy phenotype. It recognizes when the energy deficit is, what proteins need to be made. I mean, ask yourself, when you exercise, what tells the gene to make muscle building protein? What tells the
Right.
gene to stop it? The machinery is there. But what guides that machinery to start and stop? What is it? It's the mitochondria.
I didn't
I
know
mean,
that.
it's the difference between a living body and a dead body. The dead body still has all the architecture of a living body, the all biological structure. The only thing it's missing is energy.
Hmm. So
Right?
because we talk about epigenetics in this functional space all the time, right? Like your DNA's there all the time. And if you do these bad habits, it turns on these genes. And if you do these good habits, it switches and turns on these other genes. And that we are talking about, I guess this flipping these genes on and off is the mitochondria.
There you go. Because sometimes you have to be like a 3-year-old, okay, You have to go to bed. Why? Because it's good for you. Why? Why? You see what I'm saying? Right? So we get into the modality of say, yeah, epigenetic changes. Why? I mean, and the idea here is that because epigenetic changes are guided through external cellular stresses, internal cellular deficit, it's the mitochondria that's managing it. So there's so much to unpack about the role of it goes. But going back to the question you asked, the hypothesis comes in that if mitochondria is so universally present in every living creature, including plants,
Yep.
right? The difference between plant and us is that we have a different genotype, but what is common is the mitochondria. So how did this organelle that exists in all of us happen to be in all of us? And the idea here is that what Lynn Margulis proposed was a concept of endosymbiosis, and that unicellular things would phagocyte or eat other unicellular things, okay,
Yeah.
for food. That's what they did.
Yeah. Yeah. Bacteria, all those things. Yeah.
So what happened was, hypothesis goes that about 2.5 billion or 2.3 billion, give or take a few 100 million years,
Yeah.
there was an event where an ancient eukaryotic cell engulfed a prokaryotic cell, a bacteria cell. And instead of the bacteria cell dying, it survived. And the bacteria cell's waste product, which we now call ATP,
Yeah.
was the energy for the eukaryotic cell. Now, that is endosymbiosis. They created a symbiotic relationship. Hey, I'll take care of you. You take care of me because I'm living inside you, so I'm protected. Okay? I'm a bacteria. Because mitochondria have their own cell wall. They have their own. They have their own genome. Yeah.
Yeah.
All through school, you think the nuclear genome comes from the father and comes from the mother, half and half.
Yeah.
Mitochondrial genome comes only from the mother.
Only
And
from mom.
it's not a helical genome. It's a circular genome, right? Like a bacteria,
Yeah.
and etc. So it has all the function structures of a bacteria. It's just living in you, right?
Yeah.
That's it. And so over the years, or millennia, I shouldn't say years, I mean, we should talk over many millennia, ATP that this bacteria was producing, contained an energy function. What the bacteria was doing when it was processing food, that food processing, the product became ATP. That ATP was packed with energy.
Yes.
Physics energy. So this is in that process. And when this energy went out to the eukaryotic cell and the ATP split into ADP and inorganic phosphate, it provided tremendous energy to the system so that it could survive and it could evolve based on external stresses and stimuli, right? So suddenly, if it's like the same thing, you are in a castle and you have lots and lots of ammunition, you can defend yourself better.
Yeah. Well, and for the listeners, like ATP equals energy in your body.
There you go.
Without it, you have no energy. So
Now,
when we say this thing's putting out ATP and it provided some energy for the system, our whole existence depends on being able to create ATP, which, all the different diets out there are all about feeding your body differently and adjusting the way that it makes energy, the Krebs cycle and all these things. It all takes place at the mitochondrial level and adjusts how your body
yes,
makes energy. So when you make more energy, you have more energy. You know that, you feel that your body works better, your brain thinks better, and then as we
you're
age and
sleeping
all these,
better.
yeah,
You're being a good, healthy person.
right. It's night and day in metabolic, that's why that's why it's called the powerhouse of the cell in your 8th grade biology class, is because it makes ATP. And then also that is how everything works.
Yeah.
And so a healthy
But it's,
mitochondria have
So I want
lots of,
your listeners to think about it as a sentinel. It's the reason life exists. If I take a mitochondria out of a cell, the cells have no way of making mitochondria.
yeah, right.
That's how important this thing is.
Because the mitochondria not the proteins and everything that makes the mitochondria, is it not coded in the double helix DNA
Yes.
at this point?
Yes, 99% of it.
Okay.
But it's the 1% that sits in the mitochondria controls it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's that
Cool, man.
mitochondria. Yeah. Powerful,
Yeah.
isn't it? This little bitty
Yeah.
thing tells your genome what to do. Genes
That's
are
fun.
not the blueprint of life. People have you believe it. Okay. Look at it. Since the decoding of the genome, human genome, with all the grand hoopla, what have we gotten? We know why you get a disease. I can tell you that. But what does that mean? Oh, great. Sandeep, you have this much, are you going to die? Well, I know that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Nice.
The idea here is to look about the ATP, the production of ATP. I can't move my hand if those muscles at that instant didn't make ATP. Okay? And I can go on and on, Clint. I mean, this is just such an amazing story. And if you believe in God, whatever your definition of God is,
Yeah.
mitochondria is your God's particle.
Cool. I mean,
Okay?
you could go all the way back to where did that bacteria, that ATP producing bacteria come from? And,
Yeah. But
wrap it up, man. But
anyhow,
that's, that
so
I
yeah.
love that that's the origin of the passion and the, your desire to just keep finding in your research world the thing that has this outcome that's so much bigger, so systemic. We've got cardio metabolic disease, neurodegeneration, autoimmune, other inflammation. What role does the mitochondria, how does the mitochondria affect all of that? I think,
So let's start with your last one, inflammation. And
yeah,
then now we have a new word for chronic inflammation called inflammaging. Well, yeah,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, right.
great. So now we have another word. Mitochondria control inflammation. Okay, when you have an infection or you have any other result, when you cut your hand, you burn your hand, whatever it is, the mitochondria senses the stress and immediately sends out the troops. And the troops are these cytokines and interleukins from your inflammatory pathway. It senses what the disease or what the insult is, and boom, it fires these things. The
So
mitochondria control it
how does the mitochondria control the inflammatory markers?
because it is through the protein called NF-kappa B, because the
Okay.
mitochondria sense the cellular stress, lack
Right.
of oxygen, lots of fructose. It is sensing something is not right. And the moment it says something is not right, it will induce changes in its function to address it. And one of the frontiers is it tries to protect the system by putting out these inflammatory systems. Inflammation is necessary for health. This is how you fight disease.
Yeah. It's how you heal.
Exactly. And the mitochondria controls. You get the flu, right? Your mitochondria induces the inflammation. Your temperature goes up. It's up for 3 days. It is inhospitable for the virus. The virus load is gone, and the mitochondria brings the temperature down.
Yeah.
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 The problem comes in when you keep getting the flu again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
This acute phase becomes chronic, so your mitochondria are constantly on the alert, and that alertness costs the mitochondria's capability to be effective because there are damage. See, when you're in a battle, it's not just one-sided damage. You are also damaged. So your mitochondria get damaged. And then, and we can hopefully come to this, is that you're not physically exercising to replenish the mitochondria. So you come out of being sick, having dealt with the battle, and you're tired. It takes you a few more weeks to come out, or days to come out the constant. Your fever is gone, but like your patient, you said, they still feel terrible because
Right.
their energy has been sapped. And it takes the body time to rebuild that capacity, the manufacturing of the mitochondria, till it comes back. And it's that phase of replenishing the mitochondria, the rate at which it goes is the recovery period.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if that recovery period is not fast enough, you never come up, but you sit a lower plateau.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you got your next insult coming.
But even with the
You know?
current insult, Clint, the idea here is that mitochondria have a half-life. You're constantly losing mitochondria. Your body has to
Yeah,
make
yeah,
more
yeah.
one. So it's not like you have a mitochondria for the rest of your life. It's not like the heart. You got it for the rest of your life. It keeps every cell generating it. So imagine in a situation, you're using mitochondrial energy to fight off the infection, which is an extracurricular activity that the mitochondria normally do. So that deployment of energy has to mean at the sacrifice of something else. So
Yeah.
you sap your physical energy. That's why when you have the flu, you can't run, you can't do much, you just sleep and right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
because you're not doing it, you're using your reserve mitochondria, you're not making new ones,
Yeah,
okay?
right.
Now it takes time to recover the new ones. Now imagine if this is a chronic disease, you're on a spiral down
Yeah,
because by the
right.
time it comes and it goes down again, so you create a new lower plateau, then a new lower plateau, till your body just gives up.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And part of the reason why little kids bounce back so fast, is they've got this pristine system, everything's at its best,
And then
you
a lot
know?
more mitochondria per cell. Because starting age 21, you start losing 10-15% of your mitochondria every decade.
Wow. Okay. Right
That's
on.
happening. That's called aging. What
Yeah.
happens at 21? You can eat what you want, but you
Yeah.
don't gain weight. You eat the same pizza when you're 31, and suddenly you're heavier. At 41, it's worse. And you're going, I'm eating the same. What the heck am I gaining weight? It's because your metabolism is slowing down because your mitochondrial function is going down.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah.
Just imagine when your metabolism slows down, your energy goes down, your physical activity goes down, so your mitochondria goes down even more. And it's like this vicious feedback loop that goes on. And what do? You lose your grip strength, you lose your metabolism, and as you age, suddenly cognition, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Well, I mean, and what's you just implied to be true, but it's worth saying out loud is that exercise and physical activity and movement drives the need for more energy and therefore your body makes more mitochondria to replace them, which is one of the reasons why, exercise matters.
There you go.
And, your strength, your grip strength directly correlates with your life expectancy and all the things, right?
Exactly. Because see, if your grip strength is good, then the rest of the body's bioenergetics is good. And why?
Yeah.
Because the mitochondria make a decision of criticality. They said, if I have only X amount of energy and I need 2X, I want to spend X for more critical functions. So I will let go of the grip strength because that's not so important. But I will protect the heart and the liver and the kidney and the brain. But as this deficit goes down, it starts affecting the rest of the critical organ till one day
Yeah.
you're no more.
Well, and you get to the point, the brain is this energy sucking device. Like it just needs so much energy all the time.
2% of your body weight, 20% of its energy consumption.
Really. That's a great stat. Yeah. I mean, and that's why it's so hard when you're tired. Like, those times when you're like, hey, I'm going to pull an all nighter to study for this test. And then you sit in front of that test and you're like, I should have gone to bed. Like, I can't think.
Yeah. Yeah. And there is a reason for that too. I don't know if we have time to go there today, but there's a very clear reason why if you don't sleep well, your next day is terrible. Take a red eye from the West Coast to the East Coast and you're suffering for the rest of the afternoon, right?
Yeah.
And there's
Right.
reason for that. And perhaps we'll talk. But, there's so many interesting things I could tell you. For example, I told you that the mitochondria is a bacteria. As you said, it's generated by exercise, right? The question I asked, how and why? And nobody could tell me. Nobody
Yeah.
could tell me what happens when you exercise that leads to making of the new mitochondria. And that's what I figured out. So we figured out that the mitochondria make a specific steroid. We're the first
Oh,
ones to detect this human steroid. It's present in humans. And I said, if mitochondria is present everywhere, is it present in rats? Yes, it is. Is it present in mice? Yes, it is. Is it present in worms? Yes, it is. Right? So with exercise, when you exercise, your mitochondria sends this signal to your cell that I need to make more energy. And it tells the nucleus, make more mitochondria in the absence of cell division. It's the key. Because when your
Okay.
cells are dividing, they will make more mitochondria so that two daughter cells have the same number of mitochondria. When your cells are not dividing and it needs more energy to function, this steroid is the key. And we've shown this. And we have found it in humans. And we've shown its mitochondrial function. We have shown this is what it does. We're the
So
first
this
ones
is
to
where
understand.
we're going then. So this conversation is going to be about that steroid. Yes?
No,
'Cause I
whatever you want to talk about, Clint, but I'm telling you, there's so much to unpack. So this is key. Suddenly we have a reason. So all your listeners, this is why you exercise. You exercise so that your mitochondria in the cell that is exercising makes more mitochondria to fill the deficit. But the amazing thing happens is this steroid then goes through your entire body. And it elevates your entire body cellular function. That's why when you exercise, your brain feels better.
Yeah, right.
It's your legs that are doing the work. Why is your brain feeling better? Because we have shown that this steroid goes into your entire system within minutes.
That's great. Well, I mean, I've
Fascinating.
got so many patients that when they hurt themselves, I worry about their mental health first because they can no longer exercise like they need to keep that balance. There's such a
Good for
delicate
you.
balance.
So good for you. And most clinicians says, oh, you've got cancer. I could care less about your brain.
Right.
And if your
Yeah.
brain is in a bad shape, yes, it does affect the rest of your body. It does affect, starting from your, quarterly exam at the university the next day, or your interactions at the office, or the health.
Right.
By the way, we say you go to sleep to rest.
Yeah.
What happens is quite the opposite. As a matter of fact, your brain uses the most amount of energy when you're sleeping.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's active when you dream and you got REM sleep
That's
and you
it.
got all these different
You
things
got it.
going on.
Exactly. And that is important because during the REM sleep, it's cleaning out the debris. It's making new connections, solid connections. During the day, and people have shown this, it'll make rapid connections for you to function. At the end of the day, it will get rid of the irrelevant duplicate connections to conserve energy. But to do that, it needs energy. So much so that when you are in your REM sleep, the rest of your body is in paralysis.
Right.
The brain is consuming its entire energy production.
That's cool. Yeah, that's great. Which is, your body is resting, but your brain's working its little tail off.
And so as we age, we don't have enough energy to go into REM sleep, get into the zone of neuroplasticity, not be able to clean our brains, not able to clean neurons or neuronal connections, lay down short-term memory. And of course, the outcome is clear. You're always tired as you get older. You don't sleep well. You can't remember things that just happened 2 days ago.
So, I mean, I got so many things going on in my head right now, and so if you go to these, if you go to A4M or you go to a functional medicine conference and you start no matter what the lecture's about, it could be, gosh, the neuro guys, the metabolic, everybody, they all say the same thing, man. It's about exercise. It's what you eat. It's whether you're sleeping or not. It's how you handle your stress. Like it all comes down to basically those 4 pillars, throw in a couple other things. And that's basically what we're talking about today for this mitochondrial, exercise. You got to feed it. You need to exercise.
So
You
here's
need
it.
it
Yeah.
to
Sorry.
sleep.
Yeah.
No, go for it.
So here's something I want to tell you, which is exercise and nutrition are the hallmarks of good health. Fair? Don't eat processed foods, get out of sugar, no donuts on Saturday mornings, etc. You ask the question why. Get back to your 3-year-old mentality. And it turns out the answer is not that complicated. exercise, we all have agreed, is the one that makes the mitochondria. Think of it as the furnace of your body. It's
Okay.
the furnace inside because it is the one that provides all the energy, the heat that the body needs. The nutrition is the fuel.
Right.
Mitochondria cannot do anything unless there's a fuel in their Krebs cycle. Where does that fuel come from? It comes from the food you eat. The food you eat is like a tree. You can't just shove a tree into a fireplace to burn it. You got to cut it down to bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
That's what the microbiome does.
Yeah. Right.
So nutrition is good because it allows the microbiome, which is now in your gut, outside your body, to take the food you eat and turn it into food that the mitochondria can use.
And that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
because on one hand, technically mitochondria use glucose to
It
make,
all comes from the food.
right? So it's
No,
like you could eat the donut,
no,
in
here's the thing.
theory.
No. So it uses glucose when you start exercising for the first 30 seconds to a minute.
Really?
It really likes to digest fat.
Yeah. Ketones.
Yeah. Our ketones are product of fat metabolism.
Right.
Okay. Keto body comes because of fat being metabolized to ketone bodies. So it's initially you want to have a quick fire.
Yeah.
It's like softwood. If you put softwood in your furnace, it'll light up quickly.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give you long-term heat. It'll burn off very quickly. The long-term heat is from the hardwood, which is the fat. It takes longer to burn, but when it starts burning. So what happens in the energy cycle is as soon as you start running, the first minute or so, you're burning glucose because it's there, it's rapid. Now, for the brain, it's different. The brain is only glucose. It doesn't like fat because it's hard for the fat to go through the blood-brain barrier, correct? But the rest of your body, it burns glucose, but as you keep burning, it switches to fat-burning phenotype. That's why when you exercise, you can't just go exercise for 30 seconds and say, I've done it. You've got to do it for the duration to kick in the fat metabolism path. Now your
Right.
body will generate ketone bodies. Ketone bodies will go to the brain. You will make the steroid I speak about, and the system starts to rebalance. Feels good. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this steroid a little more. I mean,
And
surely
before,
your
yeah.
product is this steroid. I mean, you're dancing,
No,
but
I will get to that. So let's do that. So the steroid, the product we put out is a natural product that mimics the activity of the steroid.
beautiful.
So now we have a product that directly has the mechanism that is innate and natural to your physical self. It's nothing unusual, nothing artificial. It is how you would naturally make mitochondria. And this understanding allowed us to come up with a product that says to patients, take this, or whoever, take this because it has the mechanism that your body naturally knows. Hence, it has its natural controls, right? You and I have a phenotype. I'm not going to ever build Arnold Schwarzenegger muscles. I never will.
Right.
Because my
Right.
genotype has a hormetic control on my cells. This is
Correct.
cellular hormesis. So when you take this product or you bring the steroid through exercise, you will only go so far that is optimum to your body phenotype. So this product, that natural product, has a natural break. It will complete and fulfill your need. And when you've reached your cellular hormesis, it just sits there, doesn't do
Right.
anything. Till you go down, it kicks in again and brings you back up. Till you go down, kicks in again and brings you back up. And so that has a self-control and has a great role in safety. So now we have a natural product that has been in human diets for 5,000 years, okay? And a mechanism that has been in humans for, well, at least in humans, but in animals for over 1 billion years, right?
Yeah.
So you're
Exercise.
talking about a safety parameters that are clear. It's not something you take and say, oh, by the way, your gut may go crazy, or you may have headaches, or you may do this. No, this is a product that you give and you take it, you feel better. And if you, it's your body will respond. It's like if you exercise a certain way, your body will respond to your phenotype. If I exercise, I will respond to my phenotype. Right?
I mean,
This
it's
is
the
what this
same
product is.
concept. It's the same concept as peptides in general, right? Where you're giving the body something it already makes. You know, most of those are working within the body's natural
Yes.
minimums and maximums. You can take all the tesamorelin you want. Your body's not going to make more growth hormone than it wants.
But by
That's
the
why,
way, that part you just said, last part,
yeah,
is not controlled by the peptides, it's controlled by the mitochondria.
how did I know that's where you were going with that? Yeah,
like a broken record, I keep going there
that's right.
because no, but you're right. The premise you're stating is correct. That when you tap into natural body processes that have
Yes.
natural body phenomenologies and controls, and then you use something that is safe, okay? The worst it can happen is it doesn't work.
Yeah. And you waste it. That's it. You didn't need it. You know, everybody's like, hey, is NAD good for me? I'm like, you would love NAD, I'm sure. You're like, if you are low on NAD, then it's going to make you feel a lot better.
100%.
If you're doing pretty good on NAD, you're not going to feel that much better, but it's not going to hurt you.
No.
Right. So that's where it is. Like,
Sure.
you're not going to get too much of that.
So one of the things is I say to people that, and it's not because I'm tooting my horn, but the thing is, creating the essence of mitochondria, more of your sentinels who are now ready to
Yes.
protect your cell,
Right.
is the key.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
And
agree. I think
to
this
me,
is
if you can
the best
do
thing
that,
since sliced bread.
you will be better. Anyhow, go for it.
Well, that's what I mean. Inflammation times time equals aging. As
Sure.
you age, every decade, you lose, what'd you say, 10%?
Yep. Mitochondrial
Of
content.
your
Yeah.
mitochondria, right? So why do we feel bad? Why is everything harder? Why do we start losing our mental clarity over time? It's because we're losing mitochondria.
Energy into
If
your
we
system.
can slow the rate of decline, if we can increase back up to a reasonable level, I mean, the immediate quality of life impacts as well as potentially quantity of life impacts. If your grip strength correlates with your life expectancy and you get more grip strength, then you just gained life expectancy, right? Like, this is it's a pretty it's a common sense piece. And that's why we used to think exercise was important, but now we know that exercise is like 10x as important as we used to
No.
think.
Yeah.
We just
100%.
thought, well, you got to burn some calories. And it's like, no, it's not that. It's everything else. And
Exactly. So true. And I think that if we as a community, society, start to re-emphasize the role of the two bacteria bodies, basically, we have more bacteria in our body than human cells. Okay?
yeah,
I mean, you have like 100,000 trillion mitochondria.
right. If you count the mitochondria, it's not even close because you've got so many.
And then you talk about the microbiome, which is another.
Right.
So the role is you keep the two bacteria bodies happy,
Yeah.
and you will be happy.
Yeah.
So eat well, and exercise.
That's right. That's right. Because if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy.
Nobody's
right? If the
happy.
bacteria ain't happy, nobody's happy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, how do we? So your product does it have a name?
Yeah.
Is it available? How do we
Yeah.
go about taking the next step?
So it's Mitocatalyst E for
Okay.
echo, or for the after, and our website is Blue Oak NX, just like the blue oak in California, which is a very rare, sturdy,
Yeah.
wonderful oak.
Yeah.
Blue Oak NX, all one word. So
Okay.
.com. Yeah. And also you find a lot of literature, but please also, I always say an educated consumer is always the best.
Yes.
Whatever you take, please educate yourself about the mitochondria and about the mitochondria. It'll tell you why exercise and nutrition is so universally healthy. No matter what else you do, take whatever you do.
Correct.
But often you cannot exercise, and perhaps these supplements that we have created or whatever people are doing may help you. And so do it. And my team's work and the other collaborators I've had we are looking at it. And we're continuously clinical studies, by the way, Clint. So we right now have 6 of them going all over the globe, from the
Nice.
Karolinska in Sweden to University of Glasgow to Stanford to Children's Hospital Philadelphia to, so at UC Davis. And we're looking from everything from fat deposit in the muscle to frontal lobe dementia. The idea I always believe is that as much scientific validity and data you can collect. So when we work with our clinical colleagues, such as yourselves, we always say, whatever information you can gather, because this is a new paradigm, right?
Yeah, it
That
is.
we create, and here's the power of it. Think about it, that if we collectively, as a group, start to accumulate this bioenergetic responses in patients, and then we start to analyze it, perhaps through machine learning, it would start to give us a picture of what are the parameters you can measure to really ascertain the bioenergetic profile of that patient. As a
Correct.
primary
Right.
physician, you do the
Yeah.
CBC. What do you do the CBC for? You look at the whole profile. Good. One can start to create a bioenergetic profile. And how do you create that? Because it's a phenotypic response by accumulating a lot of information from different patient groups. And then saying, okay, if this is your status, these are the markers that we have seen respond. Perhaps that's what we look at. Yeah. Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I'm not averse to analyzing systems, but they have to be analyzed on a platform that is meaningful and give the information that is usable.
I'm sure that, yeah, because we've been, 100 years of pharmacology telling, look at these biomarkers improve, right? And you're like, great. But the patient doesn't feel any
Exactly.
better. And they're like, but if you get on it for the next 40 years, they're going to live longer. Like, okay, but will they live well longer? There's just so much more to the picture than
Will
that.
they just
And
be living in bed and on bed and in their bed and breathing, right?
right. No, they're alive. There's life expectancy, but no health expectancy. And so moving in the direction of health and wellness and quality of life. And, I know so much more about how the bacteria, the mitochondrial part plays in this. That's so much more fun. It's going to be so much more useful for me when I'm sitting in front of a patient talking about exercise and diet. I'm going to take you on a tiny little trip here as we kind of get close to the end, but we have these devices at my office that they're magnetic waves. Okay. And so we use them for muscle building, and they've got a lot of things, but they have ultimately what used to be aesthetics turned into functional purposes, like say
Yeah.
the M-Sculpt Neo. What it used to be is like, well, you can treat your abs, but your back feels better. Or we feel like you exercised. Why? And then as we got into it, it's really about the magnetic wave. It activates the mitochondria. Even more than just the flexing of the muscle activates the mitochondria, to the point that they have one that we now put on the scalp of the patient right over the left prefrontal cortex. And it's just depression, anxiety, migraines, OCD, ADD. It's just turning on the mitochondrial processes in that part of your brain, and then it releases things that tell it to make those nerve connections you were talking about, right? The BDNF and all the
Yeah.
things that go into that. I'm sure controlled by the mitochondria.
Yes. Yeah.
And then it's amazing what mitochondrial stimulation will do
Yeah.
to the mental
And
health of
and
someone.
exactly. And what you're saying is very true, because the mitochondria function by creating a membrane potential. Okay.
Yes.
So they accumulate. So you can imagine there's an electromagnetic component to the
Yes.
mitochondria. So,
Yeah.
when we're talking about, so look at this, applies to meditation. This applies to chi. Go to ancient philosophies,
Yeah.
aligning yourself, how they talked about that.
Grounding.
Grounding. I mean, this is what it is. Your body is in sync with the Earth's bigger magnetic field.
Right.
There's a sense now that we all have a magnetic field aura. And now we're getting into this ethereal conversations, but it is important. When you sit next to somebody, your
Yeah.
bodies are not, you're not touching, but your bodies have an interactive phenomena And you know why? If you take the mitochondria, it is so small, like 5 nanometers, and the membrane potential it creates, if you were to define it based on that surface area, it
Yeah.
is the intensity of a lightning bolt.
Wow. For that little bitty thing.
And it is creating billions of times, not million, billions of times every day.
Yeah. And it's creating this magnetic field of its own,
It
right?
has to, because that's part of physics. Whenever
That's how
you
physics
have
works.
charge separation, that's how you create. I mean, if you look at your battery, right, has a magnetic field, there's a positive and a negative. It's creating the charge separate. So what I'm trying to say is that absolutely.
And it's been nuts watching these devices make people feel better all over and start like, so, it was at first I was like, okay, so if I put this on somebody's shoulder and I'm getting off track, but I'm coming back around. But if you put it on someone's shoulder, I can see why if you do it enough times, it stimulates healing and you get more elastin, you get more of these other collagen, these other things in there that stimulate healing. I could see why it would feel better in a month or 3 months. But why does it feel better today?
Because now,
It's because of
see, one of
mitochondria.
the things I'll tell you, sorry, whatever it is, first question say, is the mitochondria involved?
Yeah, that's right. That's it. Yeah.
As a scientist, I will never say 10 out of 10, but as a person who studied this, I'll tell you 9.5 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
That if you go down that rabbit hole, that's where you'll end up.
Yeah.
Okay. And
It's so great though.
but
Well, it's so great that like folks like you, the functional medicine guys that are pushing in that direction, that are bringing to light I guess really the complexity of the human body that we've been ignoring forever. And then what you've got going on is the beginning of hopefully an industry of opportunity for mitochondrial health and wellness times time, which equals humanity health and wellness times time,
okay,
right?
that is it. So that's what keeps me excited. And when I get responses from even one or two, we've gotten a lot, where people say, my life is normal, as normal as it has ever been for the last 10 years. It gives you purpose.
Yeah, it does.
And it's, remember, the idea here is that when you do things, we're still a business. We have to be a business. We have to survive. But we are a public benefit corporation.
Yeah, right.
And my partners and I, founders, we decided that we're going to do it in a way where, yes, we should be a really good, successful, thriving business. But we should always keep in mind that we are not telling people, well, take it and hope you're going to get better 10 years from
Yeah,
now. Oh, and
right.
by the way, I'm treating you for depression, and you may have suicidal thoughts. I
Right,
mean,
right, right.
that is the funniest thing I see on commercial TV when
Yeah.
pharma advertises an antidepressant and says, oh, by the way, you may have suicidal thoughts. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's a new world for me, and it's been amazing speaking with clinicians directly about the world they face. And that
Yeah,
interaction between that world and the research I do, and I speak with them, has been really rewarding and keeps us going.
it does. I mean, I tell you, the reason I'm doing direct primary care, the reason I'm spending time with patients and I'm walking life with patients is because it just wasn't any fun
But
being
also,
a
how, you cannot just simply, in good conscience, tell people that I'm really curing you or helping
yeah,
cure you. Because
right.
all you're doing is kicking the can down the road. You're just slowing down their misery to the final conclusion.
Right. Well, and there's that right now, I think the average is about 8+ years of difference between life expectancy and health expectancy as it is.
Yeah.
Right. And as a physician, in a way, before this opportunity to like learn and spend time with patients and get outside the box, I mean, I'm basically a drug dealer, right? Like all
That's
I
it.
had to
Yeah.
offer was another pill.
That's it.
And so these last 10 years actually of practice is a big landmark for us, which
Well,
we'll celebrate
congratulations, a decade of
later this
celebration.
year. Yeah, we're gonna party at some point when we have a breath.
Yeah, just make sure there's an invitation for us too.
Hey, we're gonna need
Just
we're gonna need a
kidding.
lot of energy.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
So, but that's why we do what we do. It's more fun. It's so rewarding. One of the things that I missed 10 plus 15 or so years in the ER was that patient doctor relationship, that getting to see the good outcome. Like in the really big bad emergencies, yes, there's some satisfaction there, but most of what I was doing was
Patching
primary
them up.
care. Yeah, just pretending, just saying, yeah, follow up with your PCP, it'll be all right.
Yeah.
So it's hey man, it's been so good talking to you. Thank you so much. That was so educational.
Wonderful.
We
I
will
enjoyed it so much, every bit of it, because I really like these kind of the way you do it, these unscripted. Let the conversation evolve, because in that lies good substance,
yeah,
because it's not
yeah.
orchestrated. So thank you again for the opportunity, allowing
Thanks
us
for
to
coming.
speak through you to your listeners. And I hope that at least this is going to help them as they think about their health.
Listen, for the percentage of the conversation that the average guy could even keep up with, and we did a pretty good job of keeping it simple, but this is going to be super eye-opening. And tell you what, I'll let you know how it works for me because I want some, right?
No,
I just
please, let's talk. And absolutely, because I, I have to tell you, mea culpa, I take it too.
oh,
All
there's
right.
no way. If you don't, I don't want any,
No, I
right?
take it. I've been taking it for 2 years.
I
Okay.
bet. I bet.
And one of the things I always see is my endurance capacity.
Yeah.
I tell you now, I mean, this is not for your listeners necessarily, but I go to the gym and after 2 hours, I simply say, okay, I'm done. I really don't get tired.
Man, let's go. My trainer's not going to know what to think. That's awesome.
Anyhow,
Hey,
but
Sundeep, thank you so much. We'll put all of that contact stuff into the show notes because people are going to want to click on it. I know they will, and we'll be in touch. I think there's so much more. I love that you're 40 years into this and hungry to learn more. I can't wait to see what else you guys figure out along the way.
yeah.
But we'll be in touch more because I'm going to have to let you know how it worked for me
Yeah,
at the very
absolutely.
least.
And happy to. And anytime, anything you want to talk to us about, please reach out
Yeah,
unfettered because I am still on this journey on learning and learning and learning. And it is just an amazing one. So thank you again for your time. Thank you for giving
absolutely.
us the opportunity to speak with you and your listeners and wish everybody the best health.
That's great. You have a great night.
Thank you, sir. Bye bye.
Thanks for joining me today on MyMD Unscripted. I hope today's conversation opened your mind and inspired you to imagine a better path for your health and therefore life. If you found value in this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone passionate about transforming healthcare. Real change starts with real conversations, so let's keep them going. Until next time, stay well, stay curious, and never stop pushing for better.